I want to shift gears here a little bit. We've been talking about getting a job just for Michigan Department of Corrections. But I know that not all of you are going to work for Michigan Department of Corrections, although maybe you're rethinking this now. That'd be a good thing, right? But some of you are planning on going into youth care, or I don't know, maybe you're going to work for the courts, maybe you're going into law enforcement, something like that. So I want to shift gears here and start talking about interviewing and resumes for criminal justice jobs at large. So it's a fun picture. When you lie on the resume but still get the job, resumes. Now you don't need a resume for Michigan Department of Corrections, but you pretty much do for every other job in criminal justice. So whether you're going to go to work in a jail, a youth care facility, law enforcement, you need a resume. So it is required for most CJ jobs, except for MDOC. They don't care. You fill out the application, they're good. Who has a resume right now? A few of you? Okay. Well, hopefully after today, you'll all create them, right? You'll all make resumes. The purpose of a resume is one thing. It is not to tell the prospective employer all about you. Nope, it's not. You're going to do that in the interview. The purpose of the resume is this, to get an interview. You want to pique their curiosity. You want them to look at your resume and go, wow, this is an interesting looking person. I would like to meet them. That's what the resume is for. I say this because a lot of people put far too much information on their resumes, and they can actually torpedo their chances of getting hired because of that. The purpose of a resume is to get an interview. That's it. And here's why. Because in the first run through the pile of resumes, and I'm going to tell you, anytime there's a job opening, you know, the employer is going to get a big stack of resumes. Whenever we have job openings here at Delta, you know, they draft some of us to be on search committees, they call them. You know, so I was on a business search committee one time, and I mean, we had literally hundreds of resumes to go through. You know, how long is the average scan the first time through? About 10 seconds. Do they have the basic criteria? Do they meet the basic criteria, the basic qualifications for me to continue looking at them? And we're going to do a quick sort. And it's 10, 15 seconds. It really is. So you got your pile of resumes here, you know, and you're going to say, does this person have what I need? Yep, they do. Okay. Does this person have what I need? No, they don't. Okay. And that's literally how it goes. So you're probably thinking, well, if that's all the scan they're going to give the first time through, I better have all my important information to convince them that I have the skills and abilities and qualifications that they want really easy to find. You're probably thinking that, right? And you would be correct. That's exactly what you want to do. If you wind up in the in pile, great. Then they'll go back and they'll read everything, all of the words. But right now, you want to make sure that that resume is developed so that it makes it past that 10-second scan and makes the in pile, not the out pile. So what you want to do is you want to format that resume to make it easy to read. Don't make them work for it, because if they have to work for it, there's a real good chance it's going to go in the out pile. Don't make them work for it. So make it look nice. It's centered, it's balanced, and it's consistent looking. You look at it and it looks professional, it's aesthetically pleasing. It doesn't annoy the hell out of somebody that might have some OCD. Take a look at your fonts. You're going to want somewhere between a 10 and 14 point font. 12's nice and in the middle. And non-decorative. Seriously, if you just use the default setting on your computer, which is probably going to be Times New Roman or Calibri, that's fine. Don't do anything funky. So just somewhere between 10 and 14 point font. Non-decorative, just standard, regular, and in black. I probably don't need to say that, do I? Yes, I do. Black font. Designed based on the employer's job description. Now, this is where people kill themselves. One resume is not one size fits all. It's not. Your resume should be tailored specifically for whatever job you are applying for. Now, you might start out with sort of a resume template, but depending on what job you're applying for, first you're going to get the job description for that job. What is it that they want? What do they need me to have? What skills, abilities, and qualifications do they want me to have? And then you're going to tailor your resume specifically to fit that job description. Specifically. So find out what they want, and then fix your resume. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always get a job description. Almost always you can find it on the web. Omit the objective category. I see a lot of people do that. They put on their resume objective, and then the next thing you know, they're putting in their objective some long, wordy paragraph about, how they're a wonderful person and blah, blah, blah. 10-second scan, folks. You just ate up your 10 seconds while they're reading that long, wordy paragraph in the objective. They haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. If you must put an objective on, do it only because you're applying to an agency that hires for other jobs too. So for example, when I was in college, I applied to Sears Security, loss prevention. Now, Sears is a department store. They have lots of other jobs there, don't they? They have people on the loading dock, they have cashiers, they have salespeople, they have lots and lots of other jobs at Sears. So, on my objective, I put entry-level security so that they know what job I'm applying for. Right? And then the rest of it all makes sense. But you don't want to clutter it all up with a whole bunch of words. So if you don't need an objective, don't even put one on there. Because nobody really cares. It's fluff. It's flowery stuff. You're trying to get an interview. So you have these in your course pack, but here's an example. So no objective here. Right? The person's got their education, their experience, and the volunteer work down here. Because in a 10-second scan, what's going to be the most important? Now, does anybody care about their volunteer work when we're looking to see if you have the education that we require? Nope, we don't care. We'll get to that later. We'll see that in the second or third read. But right now, in a 10-second scan, we need to know that you have the qualifications we're looking for. And if it says that you have to have X amount of education, don't you think you want to show the employer right away? Don't make them look for it. Don't make them work. That you have the education. Right? See where that is? Right up high. Are we going to catch that in a 10-second scan? Yes, we are. We sure are. So heading. You want a good heading. We've got CJ need a job. We've got his mailing address. We've got his phone number. And we have his email. So you want the name and address. So if they need to send you something, they can. You want a professional email. Hot Dude 69 is not cool. So if you have one of those kinds of emails, you might want to start a new account. Or use your Delta email. Your Delta email is just fine. First name, last name at delta.edu. No, so that's a fine email. But make sure that it's professional. And make sure that you're checking it regularly. If you have applied for a job and you've given the prospective employer your email address, you need to check that email. My nephew lost a job at Central Dispatch because he didn't check his email. They emailed him with a time to come in for an interview, and he never saw the email because he didn't check it. Guess who didn't get the job? Phone number with a professional voicemail. So it can just be, a regular default voicemail, but don't put something weird or funny or cute on there because an employer isn't going to think that it's weird or funny. I mean, they are. They're going to think it's weird or funny. And I know people that have lost jobs because the employer got their email and said, what the hell? I don't even want to talk to this person now. So be careful. Be truthful. I know, it's funny when you lie on the resume and still get the job, but don't. Some people are tempted to embellish, to spin things in a certain way, to make it look like they have qualifications that they don't actually have. That'll catch up with you. So be truthful. Be honest about your skills and abilities and your experiences. Lead with your strongest relevant attribute. Whatever that is. For most of you, it's going to be your education. Now, in the criminal justice field, we also like military experience. So if you've come out of the military, you've got some military experience, well, that might be the thing that you want to lead with. That's entirely up to you. You've got to actually do an assessment and decide, what's most important. What do you want the employer to see first? What's going to draw them in and make them want to call you up? Maybe it's job experience. So maybe you were a corrections officer in another state or in a federal facility. Well, then that might be what you want to lead with because, hey, this guy's got experience already. Look at here. So lead with your strongest relevant attribute, whatever that might be. So for most of you, like I say, it's going to be your education. Military experience, similar jobs, most recent first. Start with what you're doing now and work backwards. Again, 10-second scan. Don't make them work for it. If you start the other way around, then we're talking about something that you maybe did 5 or 10 years ago. Who cares? I mean, how is that really important right now? We'll get there eventually if we interview you, if it makes the in pile. So most recent first, and then work backwards. So for example, if you're going to lead with your education, as most of you are, you can see in this sample here, Ferris State University, Big Rapids, Michigan. And so if you're Ferrising right now, is that a verb? If you're in Ferris State right now, if you're in the 3+1 program, then you could do it like this. Now, you don't have to worry that we're Ferris at Delta, nobody cares. The ink on your diploma will say Ferris State University, Big Rapids, Michigan. So that's exactly what you can put down, that's fine. So September 2017 to present, and major criminal justice. That's a pretty good place to stop. And then before that, you were at Delta College, and you earned your Associate in Arts in Criminal Justice in April 2017, or whatever year. You see how that works, though? So start with where you are now and then work backwards. My advice would be to leave your high school off, because again, that's ancient history. You're a college student now. The only reason that I could think to put high school on there would be, let's say you're going for a law enforcement job, and you're applying in your hometown. And you've been away for a while. And now you've come back to your hometown, and you want to show them that, hey, you're homegrown, you're from here. Then in that instance, you might want to put high school on there just to let them know that you're homegrown. But other than that, nobody cares about your high school. That was a long time ago. It was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, ancient history. We care about college. You put high school on there, it's going to take up more valuable space on your resume that you need for other things.
Now, what if you started taking some college classes during high school? Like
yeah.
The technical center, would you want to put that or no?
Well, you got college credit for it though, right? So I would just again leave it with the college credit. Yeah, because that's not really any different than transferring in from another school, right? From another university, your credits just came from someplace else. But yeah, I really wouldn't, because it wastes space. Most recent jobs first. So here we have experience. Now you can title this any way you want. You can put experience, you can put work experience. I've always just liked the experience because it also enables you to put other things down like internships or volunteer, well not volunteer work, but internships and things like that. But you can put work experience and then you can do a separate category for internships, however it is you want to do it. And there's a little latitude. But see what we did here is under experience, first we started with most recent first. So right now you're a crew leader. And before that you were a fast food worker, and before that you did general labor, right? But see how we've bolded the job position? Does it really matter where you were a crew leader? Or is it more important that you were a crew leader? Because the fact that you were a crew leader, doesn't matter where, says that you have responsibility. You were in a responsible charge situation overseeing other people. Does it matter that it was Mickey D's or Burger King or Wendy's or wherever? Not really. Crew leader, oh, 10-second scan. Crew leader, good. Fast food worker, good. General labor, good. All right, in pile. And later we'll go back and take a look at that. But again, see how we have avoided a lot of words and fluffy stuff here? Just quick bulleted list of what it is you do. So, crew leader, boom. Supervision of 7 employees, cool. Bookkeeping and cash handling, oh yeah, honesty, responsibility, integrity. Inventory and ordering, customer service. Does that about sum it up? Do we really need to put a lot of fluffy words in there? Or does that tell us pretty much what you did? And it's fast, and it's easy, and the employer's gonna, okay, good, I know what that is. Fast food worker, we all know what that is. Does it matter where? No. So we'll put where, but that's not what we're leading with. Cashier, taking orders, food prep, cleaning duties. And then general labor. And that might be important because, hey, you know, this guy, this gal, she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. She did some labor here. She was mucking out stalls, cleaning stuff. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty. Great. But you see how we've worked backwards? So skills, abilities, fluff, put that last. In a 10-second scan, they are probably not going to get to the bottom of your resume. That's probably not going to happen. All we're going to do is scan it real quick and put it in one pile or the other. If it makes the in pile, we'll go back and read it again thoroughly, completely. And then we'll see all of that stuff. So don't put that anywhere where it's going to clutter up and take away from that 10-second scan. So volunteer work, cool. But that should be at the bottom, right? We don't want that up front, because that's not one of the requirements of the job. It's nice to have, but not necessary to have. Does that make sense? Okay. References. Let's talk about references. It's kind of a big deal. References. So leave your references off until asked. You can see on the bottom of this resume it says references available upon request. They will request them. Don't worry about it. But leave them off until they ask for them. It could happen that you're looking for a job and your current employer doesn't know it. And if you put references on and they start calling around, you might tip your hand and get yourself fired before you find your new job. You know what I mean? And we're going to ask for your references anyway. We might even ask for letters. So really, don't worry about it. Just references available upon request is fine. And again, it's going to save you some space, because what you're really trying to do is get this to one page, because you got a 10-second scan. And if they got to start flipping through pages, guess what? They're not gonna. Your references should be recent and current. Your references should be recent and current. Let me give you an example. A lot of students use me for references, and that's great. You know, I mean, if you did well in class, you had perfect attendance, anything like that, I am happy to provide a reference for you. I really am. But, you know, again, we're back to recency and currency. And how much good can I do you if I haven't seen you in 10 years? And I have literally had students do this. I had somebody email me, I'm so-and-so, I had you in whatever class, and I wondered if you could provide me with a reference. And I'm like, wow, you know, I mean, I try to remember people. I really want to remember people, but gosh, I have anywhere between 130 to 150 students every single semester. So, you know, some people I'm just not going to remember, especially with the passage of time. I said, well, when did I have you? And he says, in 2004. Okay, and this is 2018. So my first thought is probably the one that the employer is going to have too. Why are you going all the way back to a teacher that you had in an intro class in college? Why can't you come up with anything better than that? Because I'm going to tell you what, that's not really very good. That says that you really haven't done anything, or that you really messed up in between, and that's all you got. Right? That shouldn't be all you got. I had another student, wanted to go back 10 years. You know, and I hadn't seen her in a long time. We're on Facebook together now. But you know, I can't vouch for somebody based on what I see on Facebook. And frankly, I don't want to say this, but you know, from what I saw about her on Facebook, anything that I would have said about her wasn't going to be very nice. As it turned out, she was kind of an intolerant person. So I'm like, ooh, yeah. So, you know, I wrote her back politely and said, you know, do you understand that I can only write about what I know of you as a student 10 years ago? And then she got mad at me. Okay. And again, 10 years ago, I mean, do people change in 10 years?
Yeah.
Quite a lot, especially you guys. I mean, you're young now, right? So if you're going to write me when you're 33 years old, I'm going to assume, and any employer is going to assume, that you have changed quite a lot since you were an intro student in college. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And the same, I had another student one time, he was applying to grad school. And I hadn't seen him in about 10 years. And I had him for an intro class. Now for most people in intro classes, you know, they're just getting their feet wet, they're just getting a taste of it, and they're kind of learning the rules of the road and how college works. And some people don't do so great in their intro classes, and then they do better after that. You know, and that's kind of normal. And we expect that. So, I mean, do you really want to give, again, you know, the intro teacher that maybe you kind of, you know, C or B or something like that, when you could have had, you know, how many teachers in between, you earned a bachelor's degree and now you're applying to a master's program. Why do you want to dredge this up from the past? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it didn't really make any sense to me either. So all I'm saying is that's not a good reference. That's not a good reference to use. I'm happy to help you out, but you know, there's kind of an expiration date on that, because after a while, an employer is going to look askance at you and say, well, how come you're going all the way back? Haven't you done anything more recent? Don't you know any other people between now and then? You know, why are you reaching back into ancient history like that? So I'm happy to help you out, but you know, just understand, after a certain point in time, it's not going to be very helpful to you. Now make sure that whoever you're asking for a reference is also going to say nice things about you. Yeah, I mean, most people have that basic common sense, but every once in a while, you know, I get oddball requests from people. I had a young woman who failed me in an intro class once. She failed me in an intro class twice. She came back the third time and she earned a C by the hair on her teeth. She did exactly what she had to do for that class, and not one extra thing, not one itty-bitty little thing beyond what she actually had to do. What kind of reference do you think I can give her? I mean, she's writing me for a reference, and I wrote her back. I'm saying, I would love to help you, but I really don't think that you want me to give you a reference. I really don't think so. I think you should find somebody else. Right? So make sure that whoever you're asking for a reference is going to say nice things about you. Now, mostly people do. So now, you know, heads up, I'm going to give you a little inside information here that we do in criminal justice. It's kind of sneaky. So you've given us your 3 references, maybe. So we call up your reference, and we say, hey, you know, I'm calling, you know, to Corey. Your reference check on Corey, and you know, what can you tell me about him? What kind of student was he? You know, what can you tell me? And, oh, Corey, he's a great guy. You know, blah blah blah. Oh, well, it's really nice to hear. So can you give me the name of somebody else that I could talk to about Corey? And I go, oh yeah, sure. You can call so and so. Well, so and so is not on your reference list, but we're going to call him now. See how that works? Isn't that sneaky? And we're going to find out an awful lot about you, because we want to know an awful lot about you as you're going into criminal justice. Isn't that sneaky, though? So just heads up. I mean, we're going to do stuff like that, so make sure you're in everybody's good graces. This is an example of a bad resume. It would be funny, except it's real. Everything that you should not do is on here. And it would be funny, except that this resume was submitted, seriously, to a criminal justice agency after we had this lecture in this class. The names have been changed to protect the guilty, but everything else is the way it got turned in. I got a phone call from this agency, and the supervisor says, "What's going on out there at Delta? I just got this resume, and I don't even know what to make of it." "Well, kick it over here, let me take a look." I'm like, whoa! All right, first off, objective. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's your 10 seconds right there. You see what I'm saying about objective? But if you look at it, spelling, punctuation, grammar, it's all out in left field. Work experience, 2017 to 2017. Well, that's very helpful. Not. And it was an internship, so it's not work. So this is where I say, if you want to put an internship on, fine, but just call it experience then. Because it's not work. Work is paid. And then the bulleted list is good. I mean, the bulleted list is nice, but not the way this was done. You see the problems here? Incomplete sentences, misspellings, certifications is misspelled. Education, where is education? Way down here. Isn't that the first thing we're going to look for in a criminal justice job? It's right up there. We want you to have this education. That's almost always the first requirement. Where is that? Way down here. References, also misspelled. Let me tell you something about resumes and writing. Your resume needs to be perfect. Not one single stinking typo, period, comma, out of place. Why? Because the employer says, well, gosh, if you're careless on your resume, you didn't even take the time to proofread your resume and make sure that it was perfect, what kind of employee are you going to be? And then we've got this other resume here that's perfect. Guess where you go? Out pile. A lot of people lose jobs because they make mistakes in resumes. And that is the way it is, folks. I mean, it really is. So I want to impress upon you how important it is to do a really good proofread on your resumes. Because people are not going to take you seriously. They're going to question your ability, your intellect, and they're not going to hire you. So the resume needs to be perfect. I can't emphasize that enough.